Hi, and welcome back. I'm Mike Quincy.
I'm Alex Nizick.
And I'm Ryan Pizlakowski.
So the two questions that I keep getting almost every day are, I want to buy an SUV, which one should I get? And I want to get something with good fuel economy, which brings us to what we're driving this week. We're going to talk about the 2022 Kia Sorento Hybrid, which recently joined our test program. Sorento was recently redesigned, and while we've already tested the regular model, we also went out and got this hybrid version. It's powered by a 1.6-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine, making 227 horsepower, and hooked up to a 6-speed automatic transmission. EPA fuel economy estimates are 36 miles per gallon city and 33 highway. Standard active safety and driver assistance systems include forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane departure warning, and lane keeping assist. Ours is an all-wheel drive EX model, which comes pretty loaded with a 10.25-inch touchscreen infotainment system, heated front seats, and second-row captain's chairs. We added the extra cost sunroof package and floor mats. Price came to $40,975. These are our first impressions, and I'm going to steer this to Ryan.
It's great. I always like the Sorento. The 2.5 turbo that we have is fantastic. This is another one of those examples of where the hybrid, in my opinion, is slightly nicer than the straight gas counterpart. I thought it rode a little better. I don't know. It might have a little more weight to it, so it's got a little more heft. Sometimes that helps the ride. I didn't look into the wheel and tire package, but however, handling is a little bland. But for this type of SUV, I was not put off by it at all. It feels confident and capable for what it is. It's just a nice SUV to jump in and drive. They did change the shifter. It has a little rotary shifter, that kind of a dial, if you will, which doesn't overly bother me. I think that's an okay setup. The touchscreen's nice, pretty straightforward. And the powertrain itself is nice. I mean, it's not a space shuttle by any means, but it's got a nice linear, smooth power delivery. There's a slight delay, I think, initially, but once you get by that, it's nothing bad about it. I was just kind of happy. I got in it, drove it home, and I was like, this is a great car. This is another one to add to the list to tell people who are looking for like you said, a decent sized SUV that's good on fuel. We don't know yet exactly how it is on fuel, but I'm going to go ahead and assume it's decent.
Mm-hmm. And Alex, you do a lot of real specialized work here at the track about infotainment and controls and all kinds of usability. Mm-hmm. And as you jump from Kias and Hyundais from one to another, they're all pretty simple to figure out. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, they are. They do a good job just making things pretty straightforward, laid out. It's kind of, when you're talking about the infotainment system, they've got these pages with tiles and apps that you swipe through. It kind of feels a little phone-like, but it's everything's spaced out and large enough to actually work well in a car. It's responsive, easy to read. Yes, they do a good job there. Most of the other controls in the car are the same, other than the shifter that Ryan mentioned, are the same as the other Sorento that we tested, which is a good thing. There's a lot of physical buttons for everything. Everything's pretty much where you'd expect it to be. They do have this, Hyundai and Kia are moving more towards these touch capacitive controls, particularly for the climate system. So below the touchscreen, there's this panel, and thankfully there are specific controls for the climate. They're not buried in a menu or anything like that. They're right there. But generally, we find these touch capacitive controls just less than ideal, just because they're harder to kind of decipher while you're driving.
I struggle with those buttons. I push hard. I find I'm just pushing too hard. Just go light, touch it light. But it's distracting. It's distracting to me. I like a physical button.
It takes a little more, and you don't in a stationary environment. You're like, yeah, this works just fine. But when you the cognitive load of driving a vehicle, and then you have to be more precise with, it's just not really.
Yeah, and you're trying to just hit it. Benefit. You're trying to go quickly because you're driving, right? You want to keep your eyes on the road. And if you don't touch it just right,
The other thing worth mentioning with this Sorento, the hybrid specifically, so right now it's only coming in 2 trim levels, and both of those trim levels, the EX and the other one, come with the larger 10.25 inch system that you mentioned, Mike. And it's great, and it works well, like we were saying, but like other Hyundai and Kia models, still, when you get this larger system, other Sorento models, not the hybrid, that are lower in the trim spectrum, they get an 8-inch system. It's smaller, still works well. Those have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. When you step up to this larger 10.25 system, which is your only option with the hybrid version, for some reason, you lose out on that wireless connectivity. And
What?
I'm
Oh,
not, yeah,
isn't that bizarre?
it's just counterintuitive. And I think it's just not what people would expect. And I'm not claiming that you can't get by with wired CarPlay or anything, but it's just putting it out there as something to know.
That's interesting. That's like an oversight to me. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know the technical reason why they're not able to implement that with that specific version of their system, but it's definitely notable and it is a loss. So.
And I think one of the benefits of working here at Consumer Reports Test Track is we're getting in and out of cars on a regular basis, and we see some of these patterns that you guys are mentioning. And when you guys talk about the nuisance of touch capacitive buttons, another trend that we can see is that you have to bring up a climate screen to get to the seat heater controls, and you're driving, you're trying to make the seat either warmer or cooler, and that's an extra step. The Sorento hybrid I drove the other day, it was kind of cold, and there's these physical buttons right there for the seat heaters. You can see it very, very clearly what level you're on. You can get to it easy, and I know that we all kind of love technology, except when it requires extra steps. Yes.
listen to us complaining about buttons that heat or cool our seats. That's like true. These are luxuries that just were. 20 years ago they would have never thought about this stuff, and now we're here. It's kind of funny, but I don't like those touch capacitive buttons. I can agree with that.
Well, listen, this is our kind of our first impressions of the Kia Sorento hybrid. Check back to consumerreports.org as we get more miles and more experience with this SUV. We definitely liked the regular Sorento, so we're going to be really excited to see how this hybrid model works out, especially when it comes to fuel economy testing. And that brings us to our audience question that we have for today. We love your questions, text, video. Keep them coming to TalkingCars@iCloud.com. That's TalkingCars@iCloud.com. We've got a video question. This is Jamie from Massachusetts.
This is my father's 1995 Toyota 4Runner. Besides resting in the garage with a fresh coat of wax, it's used to pull a boat trailer. The Michelin LTX tires are 10 years old, have plenty of tread, but we're worried about deterioration. What tires would Talking Cars recommend? The tires are routinely dropped to 15 pounds PSI, must be flexible with limited aggressive tread to float on the warm, soft sand of Cape Cod. Thank you.
So when this video clip came across our emails before we were having our pre-production meeting for this podcast, I was like, oh man, Ryan's going to love this because it's about tires. Alex is going to love this because it's about old 4Runners. And like super producer Dave Abrams, boy, you really nailed this one. So let's stick to the real nitty gritty here, and that's tires. And Ryan, you are like one of the premier tire experts in the entire world. So take it away.
No. Awesome video, awesome truck. Those old trucks. I love those things, right? They just don't make stuff like that anymore, it seems like. But he mentions, he's got those old Michelins on there. And I say old because they're old, 10 years old. As you approach 10 years old, you got to get those tires off the car. I don't care if they have full tread. The rubber, what happens is over time, the rubber degrades, right? There's oxidation that happens, just being out in the element, the sunshine, the air, the water, everything eventually dries the rubber out. It beats it up. It might look beautiful because you have your tires shine. You could see in the video, those tires still look beautiful, right? The only thing that looks old is the lettering, and I'm a tire nerd, so I know what those tires. That's what the lettering used to look like. It was very simple, right? So I could tell you those are old just by looking at them from here. But otherwise, an average person would look at that and be like, "That's got plenty of tread, no big deal." Yeah, could you still drive on it? Yes, but it's not worth it because they're drying out. They don't have the the strength that they used to have. I'll say that. So in terms of replacing them, so you mentioned he goes off road a little bit onto the beach. He lowers the pressures. And that shouldn't be an issue with any tire that he chooses. Really, lowering the pressure on it to go on the beach. And the reason for lowering the pressures on the beach is you kind of make that footprint wider so you don't sink into the sand as much. It gives you a little more flotation, and that's very common on the beaches up in the Cape Cod area. They actually require you do that. You have to actually a lot of these beaches you have to bring a little kit with you to, if you get stuck, a little shovel, a strap, a couple other things, and they have little compressors like for when you leave to inflate your tires back up so you take off, because you do not want to drive on an underinflated tire on the way home on the roads. But as far as replacing those tires, Michelin makes the Defender LTX M&S, which is basically the new version of that tire that he has on that vehicle. If you like the Michelin, you're gonna love these. It's a simple all season tread. It's not a real aggressive tread. The other thing you could go with would be there's the Continental Terrain Contact HT. That's a top rated tire by us. It's very similar to the Michelin. It's going to wear long. It's a simple tread. It's nothing crazy. You might pay a little less for that tire. You'd have to shop around, but it's a great tire. And then the one that I would actually put on it, and I'm saving this for last just because it's a different type of tire. It's an all-terrain tire. Is the Continental Terrain Contact AT. Now, this is an all-terrain tire without being super aggressive. Some all-terrain tires are really luggy and loud, and they have poor rolling resistance, meaning they suck up more fuel. They're noisy. They don't handle as well sometimes. This is kind of an in-between all-terrain tire. It's got a mild tread for all-terrain tires, but it's aggressive for going into sand and those types of things. It also looks a little more aggressive, which might look cool on a kind of a vintage 4Runner like that. So that would be my choice, to be honest. It wears fairly well, which by the sounds of it, tread wear isn't an issue because that vehicle still has a lot of tread there. So you're not putting the miles on. So I would recommend that one, to be honest.
And Alex, I'm not necessarily up on my CPR certification, but I know when you saw this truck, you just about had a heart attack. That's a nice looking 4Runner, isn't it?
That is a really clean looking second gen 4Runner. Maybe Dave can throw up a picture of the third gen that I have in my garage. But so Ryan, I have a question for you, actually, as somebody who likes to off-road a little bit in his 4Runner and maybe it'll help Jamie as well. I'm curious if the constant inflation, deflation, and that cycling back and forth to deflate the tires to go on the beach and then inflating to then go back driving on the street. Is that degrading the tire any faster or taking any, life out of the sidewall or the tread or anything like that over time?
Not a measurable amount. A tire is incredibly strong and highly engineered. You got to think, even when your tire is fully inflated and you're rolling down the road, every time the tire rolls through the contact patch where it's touching the road, the tire deforms. The sidewalls are constantly moving. They're designed to take that flex, right? So now you take, in this situation, you let out a bunch of air. You can't let out too much air. It depends on your situation, but you let out some air to go on the beach. You're on the beach, but you're driving slow. So you're really not, you're not harassing it that much. And they, like I said, their sidewalls are built to take that flex. Millions and millions of revolutions, right? When you drive a tire through its entire life, these times going out on the beach, and then reinflating it, you're not hurting it. Not a measurable amount. You obviously, if you go too low on the air, you could run into some issues. But
right.
You'd have to do some research and figure out what the proper pressures should be for what you're doing in the vehicle you're driving.
And Ryan, getting a look at this 4Runner and the age of the tires. I think he said that the tires are 10 years old. And I was looking at where he's living. He's out in Massachusetts. My question is, with a vehicle that like this 4Runner probably gets very limited use. It's probably just like a seasonal car, but it's
right.
Sitting in a garage or whatever. Does the fluctuation in temperatures also degrade or age a tire? It's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold every season.
Sure. I mean, that's part of that. When I say the elements, the sun, the rain, the wind, everything, the fluctuation in temperatures up and down, it starts to beat up the tires. It oxidizes the materials, and a lot of that has to do with the fluctuation in temperatures. The best thing you can do, once a tire is mounted on a car and it's in service and you're not using it all the time, is to keep it out of the sun at least. In a garage. Keep it away from the sun. Otherwise, I mean, a tire that's been mounted on a vehicle, that is considered in service. A lot of vehicle manufacturers will say 6 to 8 years. We say no matter what, after 10 years, just at 10 years, you got to get them off the car. It's just it's not worth the risk.
Right, and looks can be deceiving. They can be good looking. Yeah. They can seem like they're fine, but they're much older than they would appear.
Absolutely.
Right? Well, this is a great question, great vehicle, and sadly, it's going to kind of do it for this episode. As always, check the show notes for more information on the vehicles and topics we discussed. And a reminder, please keep your questions coming, especially your questions that have these great cars. Keep sending them to TalkingCars@iCloud.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.